Hey you guys. Okay, so this is going to be take 3 on this video. I've just been really kind of struggling with what I'm going to do with these journals, with the pockets. So I think I have a plan, and I've tried it a couple different ways, and I think I know what I'm going to do. So first of all, I need to add pockets on the inside front cover and the back cover. And then I also want to add some kind of little pocket on the front. Well, I usually don't add one here, but I might anyway. If I have one here, I don't usually add one here. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'll like paper clip little like pieces of ephemera or something like that right there. But I do like to add pockets on the like first page of each signature that is usually a piece of cardstock. But if it's something plain like this, that I think, someone may like to embellish that themselves or, use that for actual journaling, then I'll put a pocket on this side where there's a pattern piece, Anyway, so that's just kind of, you guys always say you like to hear my thought process. So that's kind of part of my thought process. Anyway, so I'll probably add something onto the front page of each signature. So that's a lot of pockets. And, since I'm working on 22 journals currently, that's a lot that I need to make. So I sort of like to have a process. Like I like to figure out what I'm going to do, and then I get everything out and I just, work through it and make them all at the same time. So I just want to show you real quickly. I did finish binding all of these and added my fabric washi or snippet roll, no-sew snippet roll onto the spines, and it's holding up great. Like I'm not concerned with it, lifting or coming off down the road, unless somebody like really pulls on it and tries to take it off. Then I did go through with the Tear Mender fabric glue, and I tacked down little pieces where it was kind of floppy or whatever, and just kind of secured things down a little bit. And then I just added a little bit of embellishment onto each spine. I will admit that I did pull out the hot glue gun to attach some of the bulkier pieces. I decided not to add buttons on these, just because like I just felt like they could get caught on things and potentially like rip off, and I just feel like that's just not good. So so I didn't add any buttons on these. I may add some buttons like to a charm or something like that, but then I did add a little stamped on fabric image, and some other little pieces of lace and a little yo-yo and stuff like that. I am trying to use my double stick tape as much as I can because I have a lot of it and I really don't want it to go bad. So I'm trying to use it before that happens. I've had it actually like really dry up, and like this one, see how it's starting to kind of separate? It will go bad. So if you have a lot of this tape, I recommend, and you don't use it a lot, I recommend storing it in an airtight, like a Ziploc bag or something like that, because it will dry up, and and then you wasted that money. So, like I buy it, the last time I bought it, I tried to, the ones that I'm not using, I just leave them in the package. I don't open them. So anyway, so here's what I've decided to do for the inside and, the front and back covers. So I'm doing these pockets made using some of these oversized envelopes that I have. I did get some in Happy Mail, and then I had some already. But so what I'm doing is I'm not cutting it exactly in half, but I'm cutting it to about 4 inches on each side, off of each side. So then I have this little piece left that I think I could use to make like a little coin envelope or something, you know. I mean, that's useful. Don't throw that away. Anyway, so I've got a couple of those. Let me just cut one more. So 4 inches on that side, 4 inches on that side. Okay, so I've got 4 pockets that I can make right now. And then I'm just going to use a glue stick to close this up. And yes, there is adhesive on the envelope already, but I don't know how old these envelopes are, and I don't want that to, you know, fail. So if you have brand new envelopes and you're doing this, I recommend using like a wet wipe or a sponge to to moisten those. Okay, so I've got my envelopes, my little paper pockets glued up. And then I'm just using, I happen to have a stash of already cut pieces of fabric, you know, somebody had cut these up for a quilt. And so I'm just gonna use those because they're almost perfect, right? Anyway, so this side is what's going to actually get attached to the journal. So I want to attach my fabric onto the smooth side. And I'm going to use a glue stick to attach these, to attach the fabric. And I know that I said, you know, fabric pockets, and they are basically fabric pockets. These I decided to do on the envelopes because I'll tell you why. It's a complicated reason. Because I want to attach it to paper on the inside of that cover, and it's really hard to glue just fabric to paper, you know. I just don't feel like it's it grabs, like it's sturdy or something. I don't know. It just seems kind of like it won't really stay, you know. But I know that it will with paper. So anyway, so I'm just gluing that onto the smooth side of the envelope. And the reason that I like to use a glue stick to do this is because a glue stick is relatively dry. The glue itself is relatively dry. This is the Amazon Basics all-purpose glue stick that I was supposed to send people in their kits that I feel incredibly guilty about not doing. But, you know, I'm sorry. I did send you a bunch of postage stamps anyway. So, okay, so I'm just gluing those on. Make sure they're nice and smooth. If you're doing this with fabric you have that are scraps and stuff like that, you know, you might want to iron it first to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm not going to do all of those. And then once that's dry, I'll go back with the pinking shears, and with the back facing me, I'm just going to trim this off. I wish my phone would stop doing that. Just trim off these strips. And this is what I'm talking about, where I have that bag of, you know, little strips of paper or little strips of fabric that I use when I make that, the like snippet rolls, you know. These are the little strips that I save. And you don't have to use pinking shears, obviously. I just like to use them because I think they look cool. So I save these little scraps, and they go in that bag. They go in the bag of scraps. The bag of fabric scraps. Okay? So I've got a couple little pockets here. So you definitely want to let these dry before you stitch these on the sewing machine or anything. You don't want to, you know, sew through wet glue with your sewing machine. So just saying. Okay, so I've got those. I've got a whole stack of them that I've done already. Okay, so these are all ready to go. And so I know that I have 22 journals, so I need to make 44 pockets, right? I usually will make a few extra just in case I mess one up or something, you know. So I've got a whole stack of them here. And then I'll figure out some way to use these. You know, I might just put this in a paper clip inside the journal or something, you know. Anyway, so put this stuff over here. And then I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about stamping on fabric. A couple things that I have found to be helpful. First thing is it's really, really helpful if you iron your fabric first with spray starch. And I mean, you might already know this, but you know, it took me a little bit of trial and error to figure it out. So I just have a few pieces here that I thought I would iron, just to give you my little tips about using spray starch, because it can be kind of weird. So I'm just going to cut like a kind of a piece of paper size piece. Okay, so this is just cotton muslin, and you can see it's pretty lightweight. It's sort of floppy and wrinkled, you know. But I want this to sort of behave like paper, you know, because I want to use it for, I'm going to be cutting out the pieces, right? So I want it to have some stiffness. And also the spray starch is going to give this surface a more stamp or ink friendly surface. Okay, so I'm just using this spray starch. It's a heavy Niagara spray starch. I think this is, I don't know if I recommend that brand or necessarily. It's just what they had at Albertsons. So that's what I got. Or maybe it was, I don't remember, Rite Aid. So you want to spray enough to where you can feel that the whole piece is damp. And then when you lay your iron down, you want to keep it moving. Like, you really don't want to just, like, especially when it's really wet, you got to put it down moving. Like when you set the iron down, you can't just like set it down in place and then move it, because it'll actually kind of grab onto your iron, even if it's like a non-stick surface on your iron, you know. And then you want to turn it over, iron the back, and then just, you know, keep doing that until it's dry. And you can see that, you know, it'll stop steaming, and then you know it's dry. So this, I mean, it's not like stiff, but it has more body now, right? Like it's got, it's smooth, and it also has a little bit of body, and that makes it a lot easier to stamp on and to cut out later if you want to cut out your okay, so let me try this and I'll show you what I mean. So if I set this down and then try to move it, it sticks. so don't do that. You want to lay your iron down in a moving way, like you know what I mean. And spray starch is old school, right? Like we used to always use spray starch on, I used to crease my pants when I was in high school. I would iron my jeans and crease them, if you can believe that. But I lived in Denver for a while when I was a teenager, and that's just what people did. So that's what I had to do. Anyway. Okay, so I've got a couple pieces that I've ironed, and let me get the iron out of the way now. So any of these pieces of fabric that I want to be cutting, or down the road, I'm going to be cutting some other shapes out of fabric. And so just know that those pieces are going to be starched, okay, for the next couple videos. Those pieces of fabric will be starched if they're not backed on sticker paper. So, okay, so I've got just a couple pieces. Let me grab a couple stamps. It's not rocket science, right? I mean, it's basically the same as stamping on paper, but I will say you want to use a permanent ink. You can see there's a big stain on this, but that's okay. You want to use a permanent ink, not a pigment ink. I haven't tried with pigment ink, and I think you might be able to use it if you heat set it with a heat gun afterwards. I don't think I would go with embossing on fabric. I just think that the movement of it, it'll come off. It might not, though. I'm going to try it and we'll see what happens. Not in this video, but I'll let you know. Anyway, so just to be safe, I'm just going to use my black archival ink, and I've got my little Memento teardrop inks also, and these work too. This is a permanent ink. Stays On is a permanent ink. Lots of other brands that will work. Okay, so let's stamp a couple onto this kind of peach color. This is one that I really like. These little, I got these stamps from an Etsy shop quite a while ago, and I don't remember the name of the shop, but I'll try to find my order and then I'll put it in the description. They're just these little stamps that kind of have like a botanical sort of vibe, you know. Anyway, so let's just try this one. Some of the larger stamps that I've used, I found that it does work better to put a piece of foam under the fabric, because occasionally it'll miss the center part of the stamp. So I'm just going to try it without the foam and see how it goes. And you do want to make sure that you ink it really well. You know, you do. Anyway, so you want to stamp on the surface that you applied the starch to, okay? Not the back. You want to, and you can tell it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, you know. And you want to hold it down for a second, like just to let the ink transfer and kind of soak in a little bit. So that works pretty well. Know what I'm saying? Let's try this same, no, let's try a different one. Let's try this one on the white muslin. And, you know, you want to use a good amount of pressure. I don't think you need to like stand on it or anything, but you do need to apply a good amount of pressure and let it set for a second before you lift the stamp. I've got these little guys. Where are they? Oh, here they are. These little guys are really cute. It's the same kind of idea, and I don't know if it was the same Etsy shop or not, but they're just these little kind of like botanical, almost like specimen sort of stamps. I don't remember the name of the shop, but I think it's the same one that the other ones came from. Okay, so I want to ink this really well. And the clear stamps, since they're a lot softer than the rubber stamps, Yeah, see it missed right there in the center. I mean, if it's doing that, obviously, you know, you want to put your foam underneath and apply more pressure just to get it squished in there. But I mean, that's not absolutely terrible. It also depends on the fabric. Like sometimes the more, the coarser fabric, it won't, see, I'm really kind of pushing that down just to see if that makes a difference. Yeah, see, and it's missing in the center. So I do want to use the foam. Okay, I'm just going to try it with the foam just to make sure. And this pad might be getting a little dry too. I think I need to re-ink this pad. That could be part of it. So let's see if that makes a difference using the foam underneath. And I'm putting a good amount of pressure on there. Yeah, so that totally made a difference. Totally made a difference. Okay, but I do need to re-ink that pad. Anyway, so just basic kind of things about stamping on fabric. Okay, and you can heat set it also with a heat gun, just to be safe. Like that's not a terrible idea, to just kind of lay it out and run your, run your heat gun over it a little bit, just to make sure that it won't smear and that kind of stuff. So let me get rid of this. And then no, I didn't just throw it across the room. Okay, and then got my little pocketses. My family and I, we often use Tolkien references, and I'm always asking people what they have in their pocketses. Anyway, so those are the two we just did. So these are some of the pockets that I did a few days ago. I am planning to add a row of zigzag stitching around the borders on these. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm attaching my embellishments to these pockets. I don't want to be stitching with the sewing machine through that carpet tape, especially. I have stitched through the Scor tape or the Sukwang tape with the sewing machine, and if it's just a tiny little bit, then it seems to do okay. But yeah, it's up to you. I mean, I have had my sewing machine just like completely go, no, not doing it. And it's because there's just too much like residue from the tape on the needle, and then it gets into the bobbin case. And anyway, so try not to stitch through tape with your sewing machine. You can stitch through dry glue fine, but tape is another story. So, but since I'm not going to be really stitching these down, I want to make sure that they are really well stuck on here. So I'm going to use the Tear Mender fabric tape, or fabric glue. I'm really starting to like this glue more and more. It's not super cheap, but look at what this is. A giant bottle, 16 ounces, and I think it's about $15 on Amazon. That's twice the size of a bottle of Fabri-Tac, and honestly, it's a lot easier to work with, I think. Like, it's not messy, like you don't get that weird yucky stringy stuff, and if you know how to use it, then it's invisible, just like Fabri-Tac is, and it's flexible too, and it's really, really strong glue. Anyway, so I have some put into a little bottle here, and so basically all I'm going to do is just attach these just using some little dots of this glue. Okay, just little dots, doesn't need much. Okay, and I do kind of let it dry for just a second. Just give it a little bit of a blow, and then I'm just going to tap that down. I'm not pushing hard because I don't want that glue to push up through the fabric. I'm just tapping it. And it does take 3 minutes to bond. So don't try ripping it off and, you know, after 20 seconds and say, oh, that doesn't work, you know, just leave it alone. So basically, I'm just going to use one of my little stamped images. So like that. It's just a little stamped image. Whoops, I forgot to let it set for a second. I just really like tapping with my fingertip. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do these. I'll just attach my little stamped image. Whoops. I keep forgetting to let it set for just a second. Now I can see that that glue kind of came through this fabric just a tiny bit because this fabric has a really loose weave. So I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Otherwise, it'll just get worse, right? So I want to use some of these larger images too. Like I love this beetle. So some of these I want to sort of fray the edges of the fabric, you know. Just attach my little beetle. Okay, so that's that. And then I want to come back and add just something to sort of zhuzh them up a little bit, as Wendy would say, and sort of make them, I guess, you know, kind of be more cohesive with the covers, you know, the journal covers. So they kind of look like they go together, right? So I did actually try punching with one of my circle punches. It's an older one, so it might not be as sharp as yours, but it didn't work very well. Punching to do a notch didn't work extremely well. So I would say I probably won't be notching all of these because I wound up having to do that with the scissors, and that was kind of a pain. So, and I just don't want to ruin them all, you know. So I probably won't be notching these unless I can, you know, sharpen my punch a little bit better. But anyway, so I'm just going to take some little strips of my fabric washi that I've made, or my snippet roll that I made on a video the other day. I have some in different sizes. Like, see, this is how I use those little strips that I cut off of the pockets. Just, you know, I save all those and then just make them into little pieces of washi. Anyway, so I'm going to cut some just little bits of that to kind of embellish these. And first thing I want to do is I want to oil my scissors a little bit. I just put a few drops out on the desk and just a little puddle. This is sewing machine oil, not 3-in-1, not, you know, anything industrial. It's lily white sewing machine oil, and it's all dust. That thing's all dusty, but and the reason you want to use that is because it's really light and it won't gum up your scissors. You know, I think you should wipe them off when you're done, but it's just a really light oil, and it makes cutting through that carpet tape a breeze. I'm going to oil these two. So you just want to like gently, you know, rub a little bit over both sides of each blade. Okay. Clean that up so I don't rest my hand in it. And sometimes you have to reapply a little bit. If you notice that the tape is starting to stick to them, you just add a little bit more. So anyway, I'm just going to cut some little pieces of this and stick them on here. So I think that'll be super cute. And see, I am going to be sewing through this. So, you know, I think what I'll do is I'll probably wind up like skipping over that section or something and maybe just stitch down one side or something like that. Like, I'm not doing the machine stitching necessarily for durability, although I do like to tack it down. I do like to tack the fabric down with the sewing machine. If the only glue that I use is like a glue stick, then I do like to stitch, you know, around the edges just to make sure that it doesn't come loose later on down the road, you know. Anyway, so basically what I'm trying to say is where I'm attaching the fabric washi, I'm trying to avoid the part that I intend to stitch later. I could actually, and probably what I will do, is I'll do my stitching before I add my piece of the fabric washi. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, because I want to be able to stitch all the way around this border. So that's what I'm going to do, so I don't have to think about it. So yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm just making these little fabric pockets on envelopes, and then once I'm ready to put these in the journals, I'm probably going to be using the double stick tape because I'm trying to use it up, you know. And also I'm running low on art glitter glue, so, and that'll take quite a bit to attach all these pockets. So I have some other ideas about some other ways to use fabric in your pockets. I'm not going to do it on this video. I'm going to try to get it together, and so that'll be a little bit more organized and understandable, I guess, using the template that I offered. And in case anybody is wondering, I will sort of, I mean, I'm gonna try to figure out how to get those listed as a digital on my Etsy shop, but as of now I don't have them listed on Etsy. So, but I may possibly here in the near future. So anyway, okay, so little just simple fabric pockets, repurposing some old envelopes and doing some stamping on fabric, and using up some double stick tape that I really need to use before I can't use it. Anyway, let me know what you think. And just want to mention that I did enable the super thanks button on my videos. So if you like what you're seeing and you'd like to support me and what I'm doing and my channel and my small micro business, feel free to leave me a super thanks. And then you also get the cute little the little heart comment thing, so on your, you know, and that pops your comment up to the top. So I haven't gotten one yet, so I'm just kind of curious to see how it works, but that's enabled on all of my videos. So yep, just wanted to mention that in case anybody has wondered if there's any other way to support my channel without, you know, buying something from my Etsy shop. So there we go. And I hate, you know, anyway. All right, and I appreciate YouTube doing that, because you know, it could make a difference for a lot of us. Anyway, all right, guys, love you. Bye for now.